It's time to sharpen up those edges and grease up your chains.
We are going to live it up with mountain life. Dropping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, mountain lifers? Happy December. It is I, Feet Banks, and you are back listening to Live It Up with Mountain Life, the podcast for, people who prefer hanging out in the mountains over zombies shuffling around a shopping mall on December 23rd for some good old-fashioned last-minute consumerism, which really ought to be everyone, but I think it's fair to say Taylor Godber is in that group. Taye is on the show this month, and that's going to be a treat. But before that, I want to give a shout-out to the fine folks over at Protect Our Winters. They're always compiling lists of names to take to the actual government officials and try and make a difference about global warming. And guess what? Here out west, it has been feeling a little mild of late and a little wet. Looks like we have some wintry temps coming later this week, but everyone should add their names to the Protect Our Winters list and support what they're doing. It's pretty easy to go online, fill out the form. Maybe we'll get more snow, less rain. Of course, it takes a little bit more than rain to the top to dampen our spirits, doesn't it, mountain lifers? Everyone knows the secret to ski hill enjoyment is when the conditions are not good, you go up with good people, and then it's still good. So here's to all the shotgun riders and soggy west siders out there, the wing women who don't mind swimming, and the homies that stay cool when the traverse looks like a pool. We'll get through this together, mountain lifers. Winter is coming. Keep on ripping. Our time here is what we make it, so let's make it good. And speaking of time, let's hear from our good friends and pod partners over at Citizen Watches. Time is important in the mountains. Out there in the wild, missing a rendezvous or misjudging how much daylight is left can have dire consequences. For over 100 years, Citizen have been known for creating quality timepieces and embracing ideas and actions that elevate society above self and respect the planet we love to explore. Need an altimeter or a pro-quality dive watch? Citizen's ProMaster series provide functionality, durability, and the spirit of adventure up in the air, on land, or at sea. With a huge line of professional-grade, sport-inspired designs, Citizen keeps you on time and makes every minute count. Find your next perfect timepiece at citizenwatch.com. Better starts now. Okay, we're kicking off winter officially with a heck of a guest this month. Taylor Godber is on the show. She's a professional snowboarder. She's a chef, an artist, a writer, a lover of dogs, surfer, adventurer, picnicker, and a very kind soul. Taye is also a longtime friend and collaborator of Mountain Life. She was the founding editor of Below Zero, our annual winter publication that COVID put an end to a couple years ago. And so, free from the shackles of the publishing industry, Taye refocused on her writing and started hunting bigger and bigger lines. She caught the attention of the North Face team, and next thing you know, she's back in the pages of Mountain Life, but this time in photos, shredding steep, exposed faces on dream trips into crazy zones. So let's get into it. Dropping in with Taylor Godber. Yeah, it looked crazy up there. Okay, Taye. Full disclosure, we know each other. I guess it's been like 15 years. Do you think?
Something like that. Yeah.
I wanted to start with a question about your movie from last year, Dear Younger Self. I found an article in 2013 where the male writer describes you as an interesting girl, not one of those wannabe shred pros who spends all their time at the bar talking the talk but never gets off their ass to actually do it. Goes on to say that you follow your own path. The quote is, for years, she's been a regular on the Whistler party scene, working the right bars and always at the right parties. When you were doing Dear Younger Self, were you talking to that version of that girl, or were you talking to someone younger, or both?
I think both. Just like, it's my favorite interview question to ask people at the very end
Right.
and I feel like people always have really profound things they come up with
Yeah.
that question. It's really good for self-reflection. And what I shared with my younger self in those videos, it was really cool to make those vignettes for other people and work with them, was for all versions of past me.
Right. Right. Yeah. So You know, you 2013, you'd already been in Whistler for more than 5 years.
Yeah, I moved to Whistler in 2006, the
Yeah,
winter, for one winter.
of
Pretty
course.
classic story.
Classic story. Same
Um,
same as me.
yeah, and then I was like, oh, I'll stay for a summer. I've never done a summer up here. And then another year and maybe just one more year. And now we're in 2026, I think.
Almost, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's technically currently not 2026, but who knows when this is going to come out. This might be the Christmas episode.
Okay, cool. Well, we're getting pretty close to it's almost been 20 years. I can't believe it.
Crazy. And like when you came to Whistler, was pro snowboarder on your vision board, or did you just kind of fall into that?
No, you know what? I didn't even know that it was I had no idea how this whole athlete thing worked. I didn't know you could get paid to do something you loved as a sport. And it was one of my best friends from high school, Barry Hartman, who's gone on to build a very successful junk removal company.
Oh, nice.
Shout out to Barry. And he was already living up here. He moved right out of high school up here and he loved it. And he knew I loved snowboarding. And I originally had tried to move to Banff. Um, and that didn't line up. And then I thought about moving to Sun Peaks, and that didn't really line up. And he's like, just come to Whistler, you'll love it. And we ended up getting a place with a few other people. And that was kind of my introduction to that. And then when I did get here and I decided I did want to stay, um, you're trying to figure out how to make money to survive in a resort town. And I had some friends that were getting free jackets, and I was like, well, it's a really big expense, like all the gear. Maybe like I can do what they're doing. Maybe I could get a jacket. And then that kind of just flowed into discovering that this was even a possibility, and that's how it got put on my radar. Was just meeting people. My neighbors were Jody Washniak and Jeeves and the whole Winnipeg crew, and like they had sponsors and they were getting boards, and then just getting like integrated into this world where that was their dream.
Yeah.
And then for me, that was like the introduction of like, whoa, this is maybe a path that you could go down.
I mean, I still kind of feel that way about jackets.
They're
Um,
expensive.
they're getting more expensive. Um, did you I found another article that you wrote from 2013 where you talk about Whistler, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but do you still feel like Whistler is a cesspool of judgmental, gossipy lame asses poisoned by insecurity, jealousy, and preconceived bullshit?
Did
Or
I
has it
write that?
gotten, well, no, I paraphrase that, but that was definitely the tone. And that article, yes, I'm a yoga teacher, yes, I party, is still online.
I
Early
mean, I
Tay
think
writing.
I think that uh, those types of people exist everywhere we are.
Yeah.
I think anything where you start shining a lens on, um, let's just say like accomplishment, sport, anything where like the ego can kind of come out a little bit more, then that's going to happen. Um,
Yeah,
I don't want to ask you
did
to
you have
pair.
some challenging years in there or?
Um, I do feel like we just do have some people in our world, not necessarily the smallness of the tightness of Whistler or Squamish or Pemberton, but like, yeah, judgmental people exist. So do open-minded people.
Yeah.
I think we're always going to have those big reaches. And then I think when you interject all those things into like I said, like yeah, even these days, just like Instagram, anything where there's like an immediate validation or like the big roller coaster swings of like action sports, and you're getting these like low dopamine hits and these high, you're gonna have like the full gamut, you know? You're
Yeah.
gonna have those like purist, like everyone's welcome, loving, inclusive community vibe that to me haven't found anywhere else in the world other than like mountain people, just like the power of community and how we like lift each other up and support each other. I that's one of the things that drew me to stay here, and
Yeah.
that I love about this place. And then you're always going to have like, the other end of the spectrum.
Totally. Totally.
Um,
What do you think it is about mountain people in particular? Like I know you've spent some time in some surf areas. It's a different vibe between the surfing people and the mountain people.
yeah, I think that the ocean community still does have a really strong community. I think anything where you're dedicating your life to having a deeper connection with nature, that's kind of inevitable because you just see the interconnectivity of everything. Um, when you surf a wave, it's not just surfing the wave. You're reading the ocean, you're getting to know the weather, you're spending time staring out at the horizon. Like there's a deep connection to that. And I think when you have like-minded people around something so natural, those bonds grow. And then I think another layer of community within the mountain space is this idea of like living in a space of risk and these people
Yeah.
that want to meet their edge and push their boundaries. And um, you're constantly like aware of the fragility of life.
Yeah, the mountains
And
are in charge.
totally, they're in charge, and there's like a lot of this idea of like surrendering to the outcome and then coming face to face with the reality of, sometimes the mountains, people lose their lives in the mountains and way sooner than we would have liked them to. And it feels unfair, but like in those moments, we're like, oh wow, everything in life reorganizes into like what's really important. And you see people come around, come together in those moments. Like there's no silver lining to losing anybody, but you do see this like deepening trust and support and love.
Yeah. Yeah, which it doesn't exist many other places. I know, um, people relatives of people that we've lost come to town and they're blown away and they stay in touch with the community for the rest of their lives, right? Like and they say, I've never
Yeah.
seen this before. We didn't even have this in our hometown.
Yeah, I think it just like because of those really big moments and those like big, um, like Hankel used to say, like going to the mountains to get small.
Yeah.
It's like it kind of puts you in your place and humbles you in a way. To put your head up, to look around and like see the bigger picture. And kind of gives you the little shake of like what's important. Because when you have that big experience in the mountains of like, you know, riding a beautiful line or like riding powder with your friends through the trees and like you're so present. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's what our world needs more of. And I think a lot of people say, oh, we're like chasing adrenaline and all these big hits of like feel good hormones. And I'm sure that's part of it. But I think a lot of us just want to be more present. And so we're kind of practicing that every day and we're doing that all together. So I
Yeah.
just,
I mean, on that, talk about your transition, as a snowboarder, as a mountain town liver, sort of from the mountain, from the ski hill, from maybe dipping into the backcountry into going out full backcountry snowmobiling. What mentors like Hankel? How did that transition happen for you?
I, I mean, I was just dabbling my way through snowboarding, like doing some local contests and like that was fun. And then I kind of got into street riding. I had one of those bungee cords, like
Yeah.
slingshot you into like the street rails, like kind of did that. It was fun.
Did you break anything?
Um, well, yeah, and this is where the transition happens is I was riding park and I definitely had at that point a bit of fearlessness and that didn't really I don't think really met my skill and no real like program where I was like learning how to do certain things but I wanted to hit the big jumps and I was getting hurt a lot like lots of concussions, dislocating things, breaking things, and I had a team manager, Risso Scott, who through Billabong, and he said to me one day when we were just doing our little catch up, and he's like, like if you want to do this for like the long term, you're going to need to like adjust your approach because you're getting hurt all the time. And I don't even know to this day if he knows how much that landed for me, but I was like, oh, okay. Like, well, what does that look like? Um, and then I had started poking around just on the peak chair, like we
Yeah.
kind of used to make fun of one of our awesome roommates, Etienne Rosa. We call him Big Mountain Rosa. And he was always going to the peak when it was snowing. And we were these little park rats and we were riding park pow, and we were stoked on that. And we were being a little judgmental. But then we did it. I remember doing a lap up there and being like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. This is so cool. And then looking out at these mountains and like hearing that people were going out there and being like, whoa, like just following that little nugget of curiosity. And I ended up buying my first snowmobile, which was like a 98, like 583, like pretty much just like a fridge.
Yeah.
Like this thing was so heavy, and I got it for like $2,000. And then I just started like this struggle train of like learning how to snowmobile and find people to go out with. And that was its own thing. If I could give any advice for anyone getting into snowmobiling, even for ski and snowboard access, even though the machines have come such a long way and are so much more user friendly, it's just like spend like a year like sledding. Like don't even think about snowboarding and just like focus on that and get
Yeah,
that
yeah.
skill dialed. Cause like that was like quite the journey. Because sometimes, like back in the day, this doesn't happen anymore. I don't think. I hope it doesn't. But you go sledding with people and they would just like leave you, you know?
Yeah.
They're just like figure it out. And you're
I
like,
think
oh
that
my
probably still
gosh.
happens sometimes.
And I hope not, because it's really dangerous. But um, yeah, it's probably the closest I've ever come to like crying in the backcountry was that. Just being left all day. And then
To
by the
dig
time you
yourself
do
out
make,
or
well, yeah, flip a sled by yourself, dig yourself out. And we're talking like, like a 5, 6, 700 pound machine cemented in. And
yeah,
you're like, okay, like here we are. And then finally where you're gonna go riding and you're so toast, you've
totally. Soaking
super
wet.
sweaty, cold, like, it's just kind of a disaster. But yeah, I just kept like I was really persistent, and there was just something that was like I need to keep doing this. And I
Yeah.
had like so many people I reached out to, crews full, because you kind of have like a number that you want to work with. And for whatever reason, I just stayed on that path, um, and started riding with some awesome people. And then a big pivotal moment was when I started riding with Henkel, Joel, and like Hawkenstein, and just yeah, that was it. Like I knew what I wanted to ride. I had some skills to get there, and then these guys like Cam and Cedric, they really helped me along the way with just some really awesome pointers
Yeah.
and good attitudes. And yeah, I'm forever grateful.
Another thing that you do, or did, and obviously not the first, but it's not as you snowboard with skiers sometimes. Like you'll go up with skiers. How
I
did?
find myself more often, not always, like I have my trieds and my trues of like who I snowboard with. But often than not lately, I'm on these big trips with a whole ski crew.
Right.
Like Tatum Minode, when her and I met, it was just like, wow, we've been like looking for each other, like sled skiing and like the type of terrain we wanted to ride. And I don't say this lightly, but it's like really special to find the people that like see the mountains in the same way. Like we almost kind of have a joke that we all communicate without speaking. Um,
Yeah.
and we can give each other the same amount of feedback, in a really positive way. And finding those people like took me a really, really long time,
And
but like it's so phenomenal when you do.
is it a different communicative and teamwork vibe when you're up with Tatum or Hedvig or whoever, as opposed to with Cam and Joel and Henkel and that? Was it similar or
Uh,
different or?
I guess I kind of went a separate direction, but no, the communication with all those people is exactly the same. I'd call those like my people.
Yeah.
They're like who I move through the mountains with on this like beautiful, like same cadence. Um, the skiing aspect, which has been really interesting that I'm just noticing in the last few years, is skiers and snowboarders like to ride quite different terrain. Similar, but a little bit different, especially when it comes to places like Alaska and these big mountain objectives. And it's really inspired my snowboarding in a different way. Like I'm envisioning myself moving down the mountain on these spines that like most snowboarders would be like, I don't know, it doesn't really flow. And I'm learning how to pick my way down there, very slowly, but like maybe, it's different, and it's stretching like the way that I see the mountains. And I'm excited to put that together. Um,
Does
and
anyone
just
give you
like this last,
a hard time
go ahead.
for riding with skiers? Do people give you a hard time?
No, I'd love to say that's a thing of the past, but I was recently at an event and someone was like, no, no, like ski snowboard, like full movie, like could never be a thing. Um, just because it is different. But I think at the end of the day, like we're all there for the same reason,
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
there to have fun and to play and to like be in the mountains together. It's just like a different way of getting there. Um, so I think that's really cool. And yeah.
Well, on the ski hill, we all do it, right? Too.
Yeah. But I do have to say on the for touring, it's definitely an ass kicker trying to keep up with skiers.
Right. Yeah.
Which
Um,
is fun.
you talked about going to Alaska. When did that come on your radar? Were you always, as soon as you started snowboarding, being like, one day I'd like to go ride Alaska, or once you started riding the peak, you're like, one day maybe I can go to Alaska, or when did that all of a sudden be like, actually, I'm gonna go to Alaska?
No, I was actually working on a project with another athlete and they really wanted to go there. And I was one of those people that didn't grow up in a family of skiers and snowboarders, and I didn't watch all these movies that everyone talks about. I just like came to Whistler, connected with the sport, and like I was just following that feeling and like following what I saw and like following that like piece of curiosity. Um, Wait, can you remind me the question again?
Yeah, just about getting to Alaska, deciding, oh,
Oh, yes. Okay.
this is a possibility for me, and I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah, so we did this three-part series, and the last part was going to be in Alaska, and Bruce Johnson was filming. And we got there, and I was like, like snowboarding's been really great, but I think I'm ready to move on to like the next chapter of my life, more in a health wellness space. Done my yoga teacher training. I really wanted to dig more into nutrition and just like make a transition. I was like, this has been super fun. I'm super grateful for people I've met, the opportunities I've had, but like I'm ready. And then we got to Alaska with our snowmobiles and we camped on the pass for about a month. And when I saw those mountains, like something moved in me and it was like this deeper love and like trajectory that like felt so solid. Like this is what I want to do. I don't know for how long, but like I
Yeah,
need to go investigate that. And when I made that decision and then I went to my sponsors, they were like, "Oh, like they didn't it was time for me to like maybe transition into like a different set of sponsors. So I had no sponsors. I like
right.
lost my sponsors. I wasn't really checking the box of it was just time. And that's actually when I met Joel and Cam and Brian Hawkenstein and Cedric and those guys. It was kind of like I had no sponsors and I was like, but I want to do this. Like I don't even care if I get paid. Like I don't care. I have to do this.
Yeah.
And then the universe kind of just started delivering more opportunity and more support that was in alignment with the direction I wanted to go.
And
And I think that
how long ago
go
was
ahead.
that? Was that
I,
2015, 2018, you think?
I think it was around then. I
Yeah.
can't remember the exact year. Um, but then everything just, yeah, something switched and I've been going back. I took a few years where I wasn't able to go, and then I've been going for like the last 5+ years. It's like it's the I don't even what would be like a good synonym for like the holy grail of snowboarding.
Sure, sure. Well, I mean, you can tell it's still got your attention anyhow, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I was just saying to a friend today, it's the first day the mountain's open and there's not much open, but like just to be able to go up there and like
Yeah.
connect with our community and just slide around on snow. Like I always told myself like when I don't have the passion for this, then I will go a different direction. And
Yeah.
it's wild. It's like the passion for it has been growing every year. Like I feel more excited for the first day today than I have in like 10 years, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. I mean, you write about it and talk about it and sort of spur others to think about the idea of like finding yourself through trial and error and being able to go discover who you're going to be and who you are without, people judging and preconceptions and stuff you think you should be doing and all that. There was a while there where you were and you still are in the, cooking, wellness, health, nutrition space or
Yeah, I've actually never made enough money to just solely rely on my sport. So
yeah,
I've been building two careers at once, snowboarding and then private chefing. And I do have to say, like, just touching on the previous point is like all of this doesn't come without doubt. Like,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and like lots of like self-reflection every year. And I kind of joke that I go into this little wormhole in like the fall and I'm like, is this really what I want? Like, do I really want to keep going in this direction? Like, you know?
Yeah.
Um, And then when I get over the hump and then I'm out in the mountains and I'm like, oh no, like I'm not done.
Do you feel that like you're an artist, a painter, a writer? Do you feel that with the art too? Where you're like you make something and be like, is this even any good? Like, is
Yeah,
it
I mean,
similar?
for art, I think it's all art and it's all a form of expression. And that's been the biggest thing for me of everything that I do. Um, it's like having this vision from the beginning and seeing it from beginning to end and that whole process in between. So that goes with like art. You have this like empty canvas and you're like, it's kind of like the same nerves that you have like when you're standing on top of a line. It's like that just kind of like dropping in and like
Yeah.
kind of letting it flow and like knowing you're going to make some mistakes and like just doing it anyways.
It's interesting for me. Obviously, it's the blank page, right? Like it's dropping into the blank page. You've done some writing. You ran a mountain life publication for a while, Below Zero. Um, you
Oh, it was
still
so
write.
fun.
You still write for the mags when you can. Uh, how did that come about? Like, I knew you as a writer before I knew you as a visual artist.
I think it was you, Feet.
Oh, okay,
Well,
great.
well, my well, actually, Julia McCabe posted. I've always been a fan of her writing, and I did her yoga teacher training, and I always loved how she spoke and how she wrote. And um, she had written something, and it inspired me. And that's when I wrote, "Yes, I'm a yoga teacher, and I party." And then that kind of cascaded, and then someone else had another online series going and had reached out, so I started doing that. And then I think that you had reached out to me and become like a really incredible mentor. I remember my first assignment with you came back and it was like everything you dread in school. It was just like all red marker. And I was like, oh my God. And I think I rewrote the piece like 5 or 6 times, like beginning to end. And it was like, um, yeah, it's really, I can't speak like enough of like gratitude of like mentorship, you know?
I I
Um,
I I remember I mean, if we're talking about the same piece, which is the mental health in the mountains piece, right? Which was a feature,
yeah,
and I think you might have rewritten it 9 or 10 times,
it might have
but
been
also
more.
that was an important piece I felt for the culture and for myself. Even I knew some of the people in the mag, and I knew you could do it. But what I was always impressed with, and was I do that with every single writer that I work with, and you're one of the only ones that was like unequivocally ready to do the work to make it better. And if it came back on time number 7, you're like, okay, yeah, makes sense. And then you would do it, and then it would come back on time number 8. No complaining. If there was something you really wanted, you'd push back on, and we would work it out that way. It wasn't like a dictatorship, but not that many people are ready to do that kind of work. Now, have you always been like that, or is that something that's growing as you mature? Like, were you a hardworking student at school?
I mean, I was not a hardworking student at school. Yeah, no. But if it's something that I'm passionate about and something like I think that's come with age and also just yeah, if I'm interested in something, I want to do a good job. It was instilled in me by my mom, like if you're going to do anything, like do it right. Like
Yeah,
don't even bother if you're going to like half-ass something, like go all in,
yeah,
whatever it is. And I've strived for that like at whatever I'm trying to do. I mean, we're all limited with like how much energy we have. And sometimes I think like, what if I had all the energy just to focus in on snowboarding or just writing
yeah,
or just cooking or like whatever. But um, so when we stretch it out, maybe we don't reach our peak. But whatever we do have available to us, like I just think it's like just like what my mom says, like if you're gonna do it right.
yeah. You s-
And
you
also,
go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, and also just being like when someone is willing to give you their energy and time and space and like as like a mentor to like really value that because that is not necessary like you could go and hire writers that you don't have to give them feedback 10 times it's still your energy so like also being cognizant like of other
Right,
people.
right. You said you didn't have a super outdoorsy family when you were young. What was it like? You mostly grew up in the Lower Mainland in Tawasin.
Yeah, I was born in Edmonton and actually adopted. And then, like before, I was adopted before I was born, but my family got me when I was like 2 months old. And then I lived in Calgary till I was 5. And then my mom and I moved out west, and I grew up in Tawasin. Um,
With just you and
and
your mom, or brothers and sisters or anything?
no, just me and my mom. I think it was like such a process back in the day, and I'd imagine it's still very much the same to adopt a kid in
Right.
Canada, especially a newborn. And I think after that, it was just like, okay, we got one.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
good.
yeah. Did you get,
Um,
were you the typical only child? Did people used to tease you about being a selfish only child?
I didn't get teased about being a selfish only child. I definitely got like picked on for being like part Asian. Like people were like, "Why aren't you good at math?" Like just like kind of like weird stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, my mom is like, she was such an inspiration to me in that like she very much like in a big way kind of was like the person that raised me. My dad had a ton of influence on like the outdoors. They both worked for Air Canada, so I got to see a lot of the world through that. But he was a fly fishing guide on the side and was super into like camping and hiking, and that's kind of how I got this like introduction to that. And my mom was such a huge inspiration to me. There was no limit to what was possible in the fact of like maybe what men and women did. I spent a lot of my childhood in Home Depot because she was always renovating the house. And then she was also a seamstress, and a great cook, and she really wore a lot of hats. So I think that really impacted how I show up in sport. But the whole thing about being an only child and living with my mom was like I spent a lot of time outside alone. So like I had this like connection to nature that way. And like um I think because you don't have that other person or brother, sister, or multiple of them to like play with,
yeah,
your creativity, I think like if it's available, if that's like an option, I think a lot of artists and creatives will come out of that space because you do have more time to like imagine and
yeah.
dream
Because
and
that's
vision that way.
otherwise you'd just be staring at that tree. I was the only child that grew up without electricity. So, and now I look at my own kid and, I worry for the kids because they don't have idle time. They've got these
No.
machines. They just plug into the machine. And I get it. That's the future and whatever. And my parents probably felt the same way about TVs, and their parents probably felt the same way about going to the
hmm
movies or whatever. But yeah, it's that idle time is when the creative muscle flexes, I think.
I
So
mean, I was really lucky to meet one of the people that was a big part of like inventing the iPhone. His kids don't have iPhones.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm like, that says something, you know?
totally,
Like
right?
it's
Yeah,
an amazing piece of like a tool that we have in so many great ways. But I think like, and this goes for like, I think all of us, it's like just spending less time on there too is
yeah, yeah.
tremendously
That's
important. Yeah.
adults and kids alike, right? And
Oh
also
yeah, all of us.
what you
Yeah.
do on there, there's varying levels of productivity
Yes,
to zero, right? But
totally.
I don't know. It's tough. Goddamn things.
But then we can learn another language or
Totally,
like
right?
have a
Or
level on our phone or
yeah, the level's very
yeah,
useful.
actually it's so
You
useful.
get inspired by
I
like super too blessed to be stressed life lessons from other people.
love the quotes.
Um what you mentioned traveling a lot with your folks, and then I saw something where you were talking about traveling on your own. Um Tell me your thoughts on that. Solo missions compared to going with a partner or going with a bunch of people. Like,
Yeah, I think for me, and I just experienced this, I was in Mexico last week and I had a couple days on my own. And this kind of ties back into the whole like mountain thing, but people often ask, like, how do you train your intuition? Like, what's the difference between like real fear and intuitive fear? Or how do you tap into like whatever that knowing is?
yeah,
And I think that when you travel on your own, you're pretty tapped into that all the time.
yes,
And I think it
situational
also,
awareness.
yeah, situational awareness and also just like what you're drawn to, like
Right.
the difference between like traveling with other people and being like not only child syndrome and being like, hey, like where do you guys want to eat? And you're bouncing out all these different opinions and like other intuitive hits when you're by yourself and you're just like cruising down the street and you're like, oh, like what's around that corner? Like I'm gonna go check that out. Like, oh, that little bar looks cool. I'm gonna go there. Oh, where am I gonna sit? It's like you're constantly like kind of like tapping into that a little bit. And then you're also open to meeting more people if you choose to be, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, yeah. There is a freedom there that you can really utilize. What about food? When did you get into that? You're a chef. It's been a while. Was that something you were always into as a kid? Did you go somewhere and get bitten with the bug for it, or?
I mean, because my parents were, I would say, like very worldly, they cook very differently, but they're both into food. So there was a lot of flavor around the house, like Thai noodle salads, Greek salads. My dad was a butcher at one point, so he'd get like Schweinhock, which are these like pig ankles, and like slow roast them and like make ribs that would take like 2 days. And like, so I've always been really exposed to like international cuisine
Yeah.
and just like people that loved being in the kitchen. But I think the first meal I ever made was for my mom on Mother's Day, and I made her a plate of cheese, but I used all four sides of the grater. So I thought, like,
Fancy. Yeah.
this is
So super
different.
fancy.
Super fancy and like cooked like 12 scrambled eggs or something. But no, like food as a job that came way later. As you mentioned before, like I worked in the bars a lot. When I moved to town, I asked my friend, like, where should I work? He's like, work at Earl's, work at night, then you can shred in the day.
Yeah.
He's like, so we would shred all day, then we'd work at night, then we'd party, and then we'd like do it all over again.
Totally.
And then I worked in nightclubs, which is like wild to me that I did because I'm such a morning person. It's such a hard time staying up late at night. But it just worked. Everyone was kind of on that same program. And then working at nightclubs, I'd ride all day, go home, sleep,
Right.
get up at like 9:30 p.m., go work
Go
for
to
five
work.
hours. Yeah, and like it allowed me to be in the mountains a ton. So that was great. And it lasted for a while and gave me like a lot of flexibility with my schedule and traveling. Met so many cool people. Um, but I used to go up to Fort McMurray in the fall, which is, the oil fields. And when I started going up there, I heard rumors from friends that were from Vancouver Island that were up there, and they're like, we're making really good money. And fall in Whistler it was hard to make your rent,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Totally.
all it's changed a lot now. There's a lot more like events happening, and I feel like busy enough that like that doesn't happen anymore. But it was kind of just like chasing the modern gold rush to like make ends meet.
Yeah.
So I'd go up there and cook, and it went well for like 4 years. And then the fifth time I went up there, the price of oil tanked. More people were starting to actually live there full time. And the reason why the bars were so busy is because they were doing so much expansion and people didn't have kitchens. So they would come in and
And eat
drink
dinner.
and eat. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was busy. And so like this veil that I had kind of put around that area, and it's not all bad, but it's very different than here. um, I was like, oh wow, the water tastes like kind of like off, and like the like just the everything like around me of like like that was related to pollution, I started noticing. And then I had kind of been like just ignoring all that stuff because I was making good money. It wasn't really where I wanted to be, but we all make sacrifices for certain things. And this guy came into the bar, and I was very well trained because of Earl's on like how to upsell,
Yeah.
like add the mushrooms, the onions, like everything to your steak, and like get a double and premium up your booze. And like I was good at it. Um, and he came in, and I could just tell he was like depressed, and he was by himself. And I just started noticing, like, wow, a lot of people here are really unhappy. Like, they're away from their families, they're working like crazy hours and like
Yeah.
in some like not awesome conditions and probably not following their passion or what they love. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't upsell this guy this like unhealthy food and this booze. Like, it didn't feel right. And so then while I was up there, I started like thinking, okay, well, what's my next move here? Like, what else can I do? And I made a list of like things that I enjoyed doing, like really random things. And I was like, I love grocery shopping, I love cooking. And I kind of made like a joke to one of my friends that worked on the rigs, and I was like, "Do you think your boss would like pay me to go grocery shopping and like cook for him?" He's like, "Well, I would." And I was like, "Really?" He's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I like drive an hour and a half to site each day, like in the
Yeah.
morning and at night. I work 12 hours. Like, I want to eat healthy. I want to take care of myself." So I started this like side hustle up there when I didn't know private cooking was even a thing.
Yeah.
And I looked a little bit like a drug dealer, and people would text me, and then I'd have all the stuff in the fridge, and I'd like go out in the back at the alleyway and hand these like big bags of like things to these like through these car
Of
windows and
healthy,
like
nutritious meals
yeah, healthy nutritious meal.
and groceries and just whatever.
Just like I would kind of prep for them for like three
Right.
days. And so like
Yeah.
everything was done. And I look back on it and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I ever over prep? Because I had no understanding of like portions or like what that looked like.
Yeah.
Um, and then I got home and I kind of like back to Whistler and I mentioned to a friend, hey, I'm thinking of getting to this. Do you know anyone? And Jimmy King from Squamish, has done that forever. And my friend Nate Laverty introduced me to him. And then him and his wife have been amazing and have like really like helped guide me in that direction of like, do you work on the yachts? Do you work in the estates? Like, what are all these options? Yeah.
And so were you always cooking plant-based from the start, or was that a decision?
Um, no, I didn't always cook plant-based. I grew up with a lot of vegetables around, and I always loved vegetables, but um, becoming vegetarian for like almost 15 years was because I watched a film. And it said that if all the slaughterhouses had glass walls, like none of us would eat meat. And it was just this very, very intense film. And it showed about like how all the animals are treated. And I love animals like so much.
Right.
Like, and when I saw that, I was like, nope, okay, like I'm done. I'm done with meat. It was like it wasn't hard to make that decision.
Yeah.
Um, and so then I was vegetarian for almost 15 years. I did a raw food certification as like a chef, and that was kind of like my jam. Like I was known as like this like vegetarian
Yeah.
chef.
Yeah. Yeah. Your niche.
Um, yeah, that was my niche. And then but that's like since changed over the last few years, and um I needed to start introducing meat. Like my whole body was craving it. Like dreams of like rotisserie chickens and like
Sick.
but I but I like just dug my heels in because it was a little bit of my identity and I was really proud. Like I don't kill animals, like I
Yeah.
don't eat those things, like this is who I am. Um, and then I realized like I wasn't taking my own advice when I was cooking at these retreats, and people were like, how should I eat? And I'm like, well, how does your body feel when you eat this? Like, what's your body reaching for? What's a healthy option? And in that same time, living in the Sea to Sky corridor, I was starting to meet a lot of people that were hunters and fishers.
Yeah.
And that was like something new for me to be exposed to because when I stopped eating meat, it wasn't that I didn't want to eat meat. I just didn't want animals to go through that process of factory farming. That was
Totally.
why I stopped.
Yeah. Talk about habits and rituals. We talked about your work ethic a bit. I read a thing where it sounds like you have a pretty serious morning ritual. Is that a like ingrained, the juice, coffee, meditation, breath work, stretching, all that? Is that a everyday part of your life? And how difficult was it to make those positive habits?
Yeah, I think it honestly just changes based on the time of year and in reality, like how much time I have.
Right.
Um, but integrating like at least a couple of those, almost always coffee.
Wow. Yeah.
No,
Fair.
but the breath work and meditation, like when it was kind of hard to get into that rhythm, but like it's one of those things like once you start seeing how it's impacting like your whole life, it's just part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not meditating for 45 minutes, maybe I have five, but like that five just to keep consistency going is like a daily thing. Um,
I read somewhere somebody talked about making these habits and how it's like a path, right? The first time you walk across the lawn or through the forest, it's nothing there. And then the 10th time, there's a little bit of space cleaned. And then the 100th time, there's an easy to follow path that's smooth. Rocks have been kicked off to the side. And then the 10 millionth time, like it's actually a groove that you would almost just naturally slip into and could roll a ball down and it would follow. And I guess is like making good habits kind of like that.
yeah, absolutely. It becomes like your path and your journey and
And
it's
it's
just a
so
way of
easier.
life.
It gets easier, I hope. And I'm bad at
Mhm.
forming positive habits.
I think that we all are, but I just think like especially with meditation.
Yeah.
I've seen how it's like allowed me to show up differently in like my whole life, especially in my relationships. It's like that pause of like putting deciding what you're going to say instead of just saying it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the first thing that comes up isn't very helpful.
Uh, I have no idea what you're talking about. um, you talked about being the token snowboarder on a ski trip instead of the token girl on a snowboard trip, but you've been that as well, right?
Sometimes it's like you're the only girl and only snowboarder.
Yeah. How,
Um,
in your career, how much change have we seen as a woman snowboarder for the sport, for the culture?
yeah, I think that a lot of companies are just seeing the value in having more women in this space, and I think that women, what do they say? Like you can't be what you can't see
Yeah.
is, I wouldn't say always true because we're around people all the time that are pushing the limits of what people thought was possible. But I think in that space, there's like a lot of shift and like inclusivity within the outdoors. And I think a lot of it has to do with the companies being like, raising these people up and like showing girls what's possible. A perfect example is like surfing when they when women started riding at pipe, like that changed the whole game. I think
Yeah.
there was so many girls that were like, "Oh my gosh, that's possible."
Yeah.
And now we're just seeing this like insane like expansion of women in that sport. It's like it's so cool to see.
I mean, it kind of works that way with a trick, right? Like the first time somebody sees a trick, then they can better understand how to do it. A line, right? A line that's never been ridden is going to be a lot m- m- more scary or whatever than one that you've seen somebody ride because A, you know it's possible, you have an idea how to do it. And I think there's a whole spectrum of that, right?
Yeah, yes, I agree. And I do feel like very grateful that the people I choose to spend time with in the mountains is like, it's not like men versus women or like you're the only girl or snowboarder. It's like everyone comes to the table and helps make the decisions.
Yeah.
And like every opinion and perspective is weighed. And when I went on a trip to Alaska, a couple actually with Griffin Post, when he invited me on the trip, he told me he's like I don't go on a trip now that doesn't have at least like one female on it because he's just like over the years seen that like having that balance is very important.
Yeah.
Um,
Balance
and
of
I would say the same.
perspective, balance of
Totally.
idea, balance of just vibe.
Totally. And I would say the same for me as experience, like being on trips with like all women. It's like, well, maybe then the filmer and the cinematographer and the photographer are men. And it's just this like really beautiful balance. And it's just this reminder that like it's not us against them either way, you
Yeah,
know? It's
yeah.
like everything works better when we can like find each other's strengths and like bring them together. That's like to me how it's supposed to be.
And maybe that can seep out into the broader world.
That would be great. Maybe then the pendulum doesn't have to swing so hard.
The pendulum sure seems to swing one way or the other. Um, what's your comfort food? If if you've got a day off, if it's raining to the top or whatever, what are you gonna do? What's your comfort food? Do you have a guilty movie that you watch? What's your downtime look like?
My favorite comfort food is pasta with tomato sauce and Caesar salad.
Sick.
Like that's my go-to.
I I think about Pasta Lupino a lot. If you're ever in Whistler,
Yeah,
go to Pasta Lupino. Shout out Pasta
best.
Lupino.
Yeah, best tomato sauce and their lunch special. That's a good locals hack too.
Yeah. I what about your guilty pleasures? Do you read? Do you watch movies? I mean, I know you paint.
I started, you know what, guilty pleasure. I don't follow like watch a lot of series on Netflix, but there's this new series out. Actually don't remember what it's called, but Adam Brody and Kristen Bell are in it, and it's about relationships, and they just like it's 25-minute episodes, and they're just crushing it of like all the little nuances of being within a relationship. So
Yeah.
that's my most recent one in the last 24 hours. No, but I love to read. I wouldn't really call that like a guilty pleasure.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
just, yeah,
Um,
I think
just a pleasure.
Yeah, it's just a pleasure. Like, what a luxury to even just have time to read, you know?
Is there a book that you always recommend to people? Or a book that if you're going to send somebody a book, you find yourself sending the same one as a gift?
Um, yeah, The Art of Happiness is a really beautiful book. Into the Ice is one that a friend, Mark Sinnott, wrote. That's really great. Actually, all of his books, all three, like are so well written and are great adventure books. Um, The Four Agreements, you can never go wrong with that. I actually like tore out the inside page and put in my passport so I can be often reminded of some things. Yeah, off the top of my head, that's probably
No, that's
those.
good. That's three
Yeah.
books. Hey, buddy, have you got the time? Or is it time to get yourself a new Citizen watch? Did you know their Eco Drive watches are powered solely by light, any kind of light? Or that their atomic timekeeping watches are constantly syncing with atomic clocks all over the planet to ensure your watch's margin of error never exceeds 1 second every 100,000 years? Check out that kind of wild tech and all the great watch options at citizenwatch.com. What's your relationship with time? I mean, do you wear a watch when you're out on your adventures, or do you just go by sun up to sundown, or
It's so funny you say this. I just watched the movie Interstellar. Have you seen that
yeah,
movie?
I don't understand it.
Oh my gosh, my whole perception of time, I feel like, has completely been bent on itself. And just recently, we were reading online in the news that they've like actually found a way where they pause time for like 1 or 2 seconds. So it's
Yeah,
like happening.
I know. I mean, it's time's a human construct, right? Along with all the other things that seem to fill our consciousness, right? But
Yeah,
I mean,
if
obviously
I'm
the
a,
sun's going to go up, the sun's going to go down, but it literally feels like time's going faster as we get older and blah blah blah. How do you yeah, what are your thoughts on it? But starting with like in the mountains in a day,
yeah.
are you a watch person, or do you use some other way to keep an eye on time?
Yeah, when I'm in the mountains, I have a Garmin Phoenix that I really love, and that's what I use for training too, to like watch my metrics, and
Right.
it's really helpful. And then I connect that to my Strava. I use that. I don't use it when I'm climbing because I don't want to scratch it. Um, but that'd be my watch thing, and then I often have my phone on me.
Yeah.
That would be the other one. Um, yeah.
And then yeah, I don't know. I feel like every mountain life, I'm talking about time. Obviously, I'm getting older, and time's coming, like the alligator or the crocodile in Peter Pan, right? Time's chasing all of us. But I'm always interested to see how someone like you, who spends a lot more time than I do out there in these empty spaces, in these vast, natural areas, if you feel differently about time than, people like that are chained to the desk.
Oh, I hope nobody's actually chained to the desk.
I am. That's me. That's when I say people, I mean myself.
No, not in the sea to sky. I hope not. Gosh, that's such a good question. And like I said, from watching that movie, I'm still like I think slightly rattled, but in a good way of like really like distilling like how I feel about time. Um, Coming back to that whole idea about being present,
Yeah.
when I'm in the mountains and I'm very connected to the present moment, time does feel like it stands still. Um, and I'm doing less of like living in the past and less of worrying about the future
Yeah.
because I think that sometimes, and I notice it for sure myself, but like very goal orientated mindsets and like all these like benchmarks that we want to meet and like all these timelines and da 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 da, like all these things we got to check off, you know? It's like rushing towards those things. It's like we lose like the whole journey and like this whole like magic in of the moment, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think things start to speed up. But like in those like really big moments of like, I mean, I'm just making an assumption here. I don't have a child, but like maybe, like when your kid's born, like this, that like big, big moment, these like that you can't be anywhere else but the present moment.
Yeah.
I do feel like time stands still, and it kind of just like we kind of let go of it.
I think
And
maybe
then I
that's,
also,
go ahead.
yeah, and then just seeing people exist in these spaces, like in the mountains, and being so connected to nature and so connected to passion. It's like someone that's like 50 in the mountains in our town is very different than maybe someone
Yeah.
that's 50 that's been like had a different direction in life and isn't
That's
as connected to nature, you know? It's
That's
like this.
exactly what I was going to say. Like some of these mountain people, they seem eternally youthful. And maybe it
Yes.
is because they're out there slowing down time on the daily,
Yeah, I mean, maybe we're on to something here.
right? Jersey Cream, let's go. Tay, you talked about, well, I guess first, what's next? We're just rolling into the start of winter. Have you got sort of a laid out plan, loose plan? Are you going to see how it goes? Are there for sure trips you want to do, you're going to do?
I mean, I would really love to go back to Alaska. That's like almost become like a necessity for me every year. I can't imagine a year not going back there. Um, Depending on how our winter goes, there's like a nice, beautiful laundry list of objectives that I would really love to ride in the Sea to Sky corridor. We just haven't had the conditions to safely do so.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that happens and I can stick around home more. Definitely going to go to Terrace, visit some friends that moved up there, and everything else we'll just see. There's a couple projects that are big maybes, just that have put out into the ether, and
Yeah.
hoping to get some financial funding to bring them to fruition. But yeah, I can't share those, but hopefully they come together.
You say you always like to ask somebody, what would you say to your younger self? Um, I do it a little bit different. You've made a whole film about this, but what's your advice for the young kids out there, right? The kid that maybe just moved to Whistler and wants to snowboard, the young person that loves cooking but doesn't know what to do with it. What paraphrasing what you've already told your younger self. What's your advice for these kids that may or may not be listening in the back of their car?
Just keep following your heart, like keep following what makes you feel alive, and find purpose within that. Ask for help. And yeah, just keep that as your true north, no matter what, even if it like doesn't fully make sense. It's like I think that we can be the best versions of ourselves when we're following that. And I think the world needs more of that.
There we go. Tay, thanks for your time. Thanks for your insight.
Thank
Thanks for your
you.
wisdom.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a long time coming for sure. All right. Well, that was fantastic. Thank you, Tay. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Shirai Rules and Adrian Gendro for the voiceovers and guitar licks off the top. And yeah, here we go. This is the final pod, I believe, of 2025. So let's everyone, take it easy out there. Be kind to each other. Play safe. Be responsible. And please leave the campsite and everything else better than you found it.